Hey everyone, in today's video I am going to show you the bash terminal procedures and commands for beginners. If you are a beginner, terminal could be very scary for you, and that's what we are going to overcome today. My name is Talha and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro fast. Let's get started. Bash is a Unix shell and command language written by Brian Fox for the GNU Project as a free software replacement for the Bourne shell. First released in 1989, it has been used as the default login shell for most Linux distributions. The thing is that Bash could be really scary. The terminal could be really scary because in GUI, you just do some clicks and you get things done. For example, if you have to create a file, all you would do, you would probably right click and you would create the file. You would name it and bingo, you're done. But in terminal, you do not have those kind of options, right? You just have a blinking cursor which tells you nothing. So you have to tell it everything. Okay, it's gonna do everything according to your commands. So the purpose of this video is to make you capable enough so that you're not scared of the terminal and you know how to talk to your computer and how to communicate to it so that you can give it the command and it can execute it. So for example, we'll start with some of the commands. There are multiple commands that we are going to discuss in this video. First of all, the first command that we would discuss is ls. So if you hit ls, you can see that it has shown you all the directories available in the home directory. So here we have desktop, we have downloads, videos, music folders, right? So ls, it is used to list down everything present in the current directory. Then there is an advanced way to use ls command. So for example, if you would like to see all the files, the hidden files as well, you would press ls and then -a. Hit enter and you would get this result, which we have got here. You can see that previously simple ls just gave us the results present in the directory visually. So now it's also giving us the details about the dotted files which are essentially hidden. Then we have a command ls-l. So what this does, this -l, it lets you see all the permissions associated to each directory and file present in the current working directory. So here you can see that it has shown us all the permissions associated with all the directories. So these are the permissions that we are going to discuss in detail, but we'll discuss it later in this video. If you want to clear the terminal, for example, you can see that there is a lot of stuff here and I have to write down here below. It would distract my focus. So if I want to clear the screen so that I could see better, all I have to do is that I have to write here clear, which is essentially a clear command. And if I hit enter, here you can see the screen has been cleared. If you want to see the permissions or the file permissions of the dotted files as well, in that case, you would use this command like this, ls-al. Hit enter, and here you can see that we have the permission details about each and every folder or directory and also of each and every dotted file. There is another command in the bash terminal which is worth discussing, and that is cd command. Cd stands for change directory, and if I ls here right now, you can see that we have multiple directories. So let's say that if I want to go to my downloads directory, all I have to do is that I have to write here cd, which means change directory, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to write here downloads. So once I've done that, now if I hit enter, you can see that I am in my downloads directory. So the thing is that you can also come back from the downloads directory. All you have to do is that for that, you have to write here cd and then 2 dots. So when you hit enter, here you can see that now you are back in the home directory. If you want to verify this, or if you want to know your present directory, for that we have a pwd command in bash terminal. All you have to do is that you have to write here pwd and then hit enter, and it would tell you your present working directory. In the previous command, when we have gone to the downloads directory like this, here if we execute the pwd command, it would tell us that we are in the downloads directory. In bash, there is an echo command. So echo command, what it does simply print out everything that you give through it. Okay, so for example, if I want to print something like hello world, if I hit enter, here you can see that hello world has been printed out. So you can say that echo is basically the print statement for bash. Let's talk about touch command. Touch command is used to create files. So if I write here touch, and then if I write here abc.txt, if I hit enter and ls here, you can see that now we have an extra file in our present working directory, which is essentially abc.txt. Okay, so now we have created the file using the touch command. Let's say if I want to rename this file. In order to rename something in bash, what you're gonna do is that you are going to write here mv command, which essentially means move as well. I'm going to write here the file name, which is essentially abc.txt, and then I'm going to name it like xyz.txt. If I hit enter, you can see that it has not given us any errors, which means that the command was executed successfully. If I ls here again, you can see that now we do not have abc.txt, but we have xyz.txt. In order to write down inside the file, we have a nano editor which is linked to the bash terminal. So it opens up inside the bash terminal, and where basically you can write anything. So for example, right now we have xyz.txt file, and let's say that if we want to type in something here. So all we have to do is that we have to write here nano, and then we need to write here the file name, which is essentially xyz.txt. Let me tell you one trick here. For example, if you do not want to type in the full name of anything that you're trying to access, all you have to do is that just type in the first or second letter and then press the tab key. When you will press the tab key, it would automatically complete it. Okay, and now let's hit enter. Here you can see that xyz.txt is empty right now. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to write something inside of it. So I write here, this is skills build training. We build IT careers. Now I want to save this into this file, which is essentially xyz.txt. I would press Ctrl+O, and then it would ask me if I want to keep the file name same, or if I want to edit it, I could do so right here. I would like to keep it same. Hit enter, and then in order to exit from this nano editor, press Ctrl+X. Now we are out of here. So now if you want to verify if xyz.txt has some value, nano it again. And here you can see that we have this value and it has been saved in the file. Press Ctrl+X to come out of the nano editor, and now let me just clear it. There is another feature in bash terminal which is essentially creating copies of the file. So for example, if I ls here, you can see that we have xyz.txt in the present working directory. And now if I want to copy it, I would write here cp, and then essentially I would write the file name, and then I would give here the name under which I want to copy it. So for example, I want to copy the xyz.txt and I want to copy it into, let's say, ab or asb.txt. Okay, so now if I hit enter, you can see it has not given us any errors. The thing is that if something doesn't happen correctly in bash terminal, it would print out that error. So you would know that your command wasn't successful. If it doesn't say anything, if the terminal doesn't show you anything, it means that the command was successful. So now if I ls here, you can see that we have two files, xyz.txt and asb.txt. So xyz.txt, we know that it had some text, right? This is skills build training. We build IT careers. So now what we want to do is we want to nano asb.txt and we want to verify if we do have that data or not. So for that, we'll just write here nano and then we write here asb.txt, hit enter, and here you can see that we have asb.txt with the same text that we had or that we inserted in the xyz.txt. Till now, we have seen that how to create files from the terminal. Now, can we create directories from the terminal? The answer is yes, you can create directories from the terminal, but you need a specific command that you would execute, and that's how you can create directories. So for that, what we would do, we'd write here mkdir, which is a command that you would need to create directories. And then you're going to write here the directory name, which could be like, let's say we name it skills build t. So we hit enter. If I ls here, you can see that we have skills build t directory. Now it has been created, but it has nothing inside of it. So if we go here cd, or if I ls here like this, hit enter, you can see that it doesn't have anything, right? So let's write here touch, and then we write here skills build training, and then inside of it we create a file essentially with the name of apple.txt. If I hit enter, the file has been successfully created, and now if I ls skills build training, you can see that I have apple.txt inside of it. In this way, you can create as many directories as you want. So what if I want to remove the directory? So there are two ways to remove the directory. If your directory is empty, you can remove it without using a flag. But if your directory has some files, then you have to use recursive flag in order to delete the directory. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I create an empty directory for example purposes. Let's say I write here skills. ls here, you can see that we have skills and we have skills build t directory. We know, let me just ls here quickly so that you know as well. Skills, hit enter, this directory is empty. And if I ls the other one, which is essentially skills build t, you can see that it has apple.txt file, which means that it is not empty. So now, in order to remove skills build t directory, we know that it has a file inside of it, right? So in order to delete it, all you have to do is that you have to use rm command with a flag. So what I would do, I would write here rm, then -r, which is essentially a flag, and then I would write here the name of the directory. If I hit enter, you can see that now we have not got any error and this directory has been deleted. How do I know that if it has been deleted or not? I simply ls here, and here you can see that we have deleted that file, and that file is, we have deleted that directory, and that directory is nowhere to be found. In the similar way, we can delete the files. So for example, we have two files in our directory, essentially xyz.txt and asb.txt. If I want to delete asb.txt, I would just simply write here rm, and then I would write here asb.txt, hit enter, ls here. You can see that asb.txt file has gone. So now let's talk about file permissions. The concept is that in Linux you have three kinds of stakeholders in files. One is users, other one is groups. Group could include multiple users, and the third one is public or others. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I write here ls-l, which means long listing, I would see here different things. D represents directory. Okay, so whatever directory you have here, before its permissions you would have D. Here you can see that we have one file which is xyz.txt, and here you can see that it has a hyphen or minus sign. When it have this hyphen sign, it means that it's a normal file. If it has D, it means that it is a directory. If it has C, it means that it is a special character file. And if it has B, it means that it is a binary file. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to change the permissions. So for example, here you see that we have RW. R stands for read, W stands for write, and X stands for executable. Okay, so here you can see that we have xyz.txt, which is and here this is for user, okay, and this is for groups, and group might contain multiple users, and this is for public. Okay, so these are the permissions. This is the user of the computer which owns the file. This is the group. This is the size of the file. This is the date and time when the file was created. And this is the name of the file. Let's say if we want to change the permissions of this file, we can do so. There are multiple ways to do this one single thing, and I'm going to explain you every way possible for making the changes here. So for example, if we want to give executable permissions to all of them, like the user, the group, and the public, what I would do is that I would just simply write here chmod, and then I would write here +x, and then I would write here the file name, which is essentially xyz.txt. So now if I ls here, let's just ls one file because that's what we are working on. Here you can see that now we have successfully assigned the executable permissions to everybody. We have executable permissions for the user, we have executable permissions for the group, and we have executable permissions for the public. So this was the way to assign one permission to everyone. What if we want to assign permissions to the user and to the group and to this public separately? We could do so. So let's say first that if I want to remove these permissions For that, I just have to write here chmod, and then I will write here -x and -r, let's say. And if I write here file name, and then if I do the ls here, like this, here you can see that now we only have write permission for the user and for the group, okay? And the public don't have even read permissions, right? So let's say that if I want to add the read permissions to just this public, okay, I could do so. For that, I would write here chmod. Let me just clear it first. Chmod, and then I'm going to write here other, which is essentially public or other. I write here equal sign, and then I write here read, okay? And then I would write here the name of the file, which is essentially xyz.txt. I hit enter, and then I ls, and here you can see that the other or the public has got R permissions. You can do the same thing in another way. So for example, if I want to assign it the write permissions as well, I could do so. I will write here O plus W and then the file name. And if I just go here, I ls here, or I long list here, you can see that now we also have the write permissions for the other group, okay, for others. And now let's say if I want to assign multiple permissions at once, let's say I want to assign read and executable permissions to the user, I could do so. For that, I would write here chmod u plus rx. Okay, that's how you assign multiple permissions. And then you write here the file name, hit enter. And then if we long list the file, here you can see that we have read, write, and executable permissions being assigned to the user. Let's say if I want to remove some permission, for that I would write here chmod u minus x and then the file name. So here you can see if I long list, the executable permissions are gone. In the similar way, you can remove these permissions for multiple groups, for a group and for the user at the same time, or for the group and for the others at the same time. So let me show you how to do that. All you have to do is that you have to write here chmod, and then you write here ug, and then you write here minus, and then you're going to write here w. Let's say that you want to remove the write permissions from the group and from the user, okay? So once you have done that, now just go ahead and hit enter. Here you can see that now it's not giving us any error, right? So it means that it was successful. And if we long list the file here, you can see that write permissions from the group and from the user, they are gone, right? And if I want to assign all three permissions to all three groups, I could do so. I'll just write here chmod, and then I would write here U for user, G for group, and O for others. I write here equal, and then I write here W, RWX, okay? And then I write here the file name. Hit enter, and let me just long list the file here. And you can see that now we have read, write, and executable permissions for everyone, okay? So that's how you do it with the notations, alphabetical notations. You can also do it with the numbers. So the idea is that, let me just show you first so that you can understand it better. So let's say that, let me just remove all the permissions first. Okay, so let's say just I write here chmod minus x and r, and then I basically write here the file name, hit enter, And if I long list here, you can see that now the read and executable permissions are gone. So if I want to do it using numbers, I could do so. If I write here 4, 0, 0, and then if I write here the file name, hit enter, and now if I long list here, you can see that here we have read permission for the user, but we do not have any permissions for any of the other group or the others or the group, right? So what this number does, that this number changes the permissions for the user. This number changes the permissions for the group, and this number changes the permissions for others. If I just simply write here 2 instead of 0 and 1 instead of 0, and now hit enter, and now if I go ahead and if I long list the file, so you can see here the user has the read permissions, the group has the W permission, which means write permissions, and the others, they have executable permissions, right? So which means that 4 means read permissions, 2 means write permissions, and 1 means executable permissions, right? So now you can do the math. So for example, if I want to add the read and write permissions to the user, I would write here 4 plus 2, which means 6. So when I would be executing this command, I would write here chmod 6 to 1. 2 means that I want to keep the write permissions for the group and the executable permissions for the others. So now I give here the file name, hit enter, and if I long list it, here you can see that now the read and write permissions have been successfully instilled. So now let's say if I want to make it executable as well, what I have to do, 4 plus 2 plus 1, which means 7. So I would write here 7 instead of 6, and let's say to the group I want to give read and write permissions. So for that I would write here 6, and let's say that here I want to give executable and write permissions. So for that I would write here 1 plus 2, so which means 3, right? So instead of 1 I would write here 3, and now if I hit enter, if I long list here you can see that now the user has the read, write, and executable permissions. The group, it has read and write permissions, okay, because of 6. And this has read, write, and executable permissions because of 7, okay. And this one, the others, they have read and executable permissions because of 3, okay, 2 plus 1. So simple as that. If you want to give all the permissions to everyone, like read and write and executable permissions to the user, to the group, and to the others as well, for that you just have to write here chmod 777 and then write here xyz.txt. Hit enter, and then if I long list here, you can see that now everybody has read and write and executable permissions, including the user, including the group, and including others. So now let's talk about another command in bash terminal, which is essentially grep. The grep command is used to search something. So usually it is used to search something inside the file. So for example, right now if I ls here, we have one file xyz.txt. If I nano it, I can tell that there is some data inside of it. And let's say that if I come out here and if I grep it, like grep, and then I use the -c flag, which is for counting, okay, so C, which means counting the numbers, and then I search something inside of the file. Okay, so after that we need to give here the file name, which I'm given beforehand, and here now I would search. So let's say that I want to search skills inside the file. Okay, so if I hit enter, you can see that it has counted it, and the skills, it has appeared once in our file. So if I go inside the xyz.txt, here you can see that skills has appeared once. So what if I basically write down here skills multiple times, like skills, skills, skills. Okay, so now if I save it, and if I just basically do the same thing, and if I search skills using grep, if I hit enter, you can see that it would count it, and then it would display the number of times skills has occurred. Let's talk about man pages. So if I'm going to write here man, and then I'm going to write here some command, let's say grep, it is going to give me everything about grep command. So from here, I can read about grep. I can find out different patterns in which it could be used. I can read the description here, which says grep searches for patterns in each file. Patterns is one or more patterns separated by new line characters, and grep prints each line that matches a pattern. Okay, so typically patterns should be quoted when grep is used in a shell command. All right, so you can read all of that, the description of grep, and then here you would find out all the options available, and then you can see here we have the pattern syntax, okay, different syntaxes, and we also have different flags here. We have E, we have F, we have -I, and here we would be able to see the -C that we have used previously with grep, and C means count. So here it says suppress normal output, instead print a count of matching lines. You know, basically it counts the lines and then it gives you the result. So similarly, you can basically do a lot of stuff. Here you can see a lot of stuff with just one command. All you have to do is whatever command you want to know about, just man it and go to the man page and just learn almost everything about it. Okay, so if we press Q, we'll quit the man pages, and let's say if you want to man the echo command, you could do so. And here you have everything that you need to know about echo command. Okay, so now let's talk about locate command. Locate command in Ubuntu or Linux, it's the same as the search simple command in Windows. So if you are searching something in Windows, you simply go to the directory or the folder or the local disk, and you simply search in the bar for the file that you're looking for, right? So here it is exactly the same. You just simply write here locate, and then you write here the file name, and it would search it for you. So for example, if I have here xyz.txt and I want to locate it, if I hit enter, here you can see that now it has actually located it, and it's inside the home folder, right? xyz.txt. So now if you want to basically locate something which is right now our present working directory is home directory, right? So let's say that if I create something in another directory, let's say I create a file touch h.txt and I move it to the downloads directory, let's say, okay, and I hit enter. Oh, I need to put in the file first, which is h.txt, and then I move it to the downloads. So hit enter, there is no error. If I ls here, and if I ls the downloads directory, you can see that it has h.txt. And if I want to locate it, I would just simply write here h.txt. And here you can see that it is basically given multiple file locations with h.txt. So let's say that if you're searching for locate and here you type in A. So A is something that comes across in almost every word, right? So 90 to 95% of the words, they're gonna have A, right? So it would search for it in all of the directories, in all of the repositories, and it would show you all the results. So the results, you can see if I hit enter, the results are endless. It is displaying everything from every folder, every directory, every file, everything from the repository. It seems like an endless process that would never end. So if you are ever stuck in a situation like this, to end this endless process, you can kill the command. And in order to kill the command, you press Ctrl and C. Here you can see that we have interrupted the command and we have killed it using Ctrl C. Now let's talk about less command. So less, it basically displays whatever is inside of a file, and you can basically not edit it. The thing is that when you write here nano, it shows you a different kind of interface, and yet it's the same as the terminal, right? But here it would show you the text of the file or whatever is inside of the file inside the terminal. The only thing is that you cannot edit it, right? So if I give here, let me just ls here first, xyz.txt. If I write here less and then xyz.txt, hit enter, you can see that now I could see all the contents present in the xyz.txt, and it also shows you end, that here the file is ending. And now if I try to type in something like, anything, you can see that it's saying log file and stuff like that, right? And if I hit enter, or if I press Q, if I want to return it, I would press Ctrl C or Z, I would come out of it, it would stop the process, the command, or it would kill the command. Okay, so I've just told you previously that in order to kill a command, you can press Ctrl C and you can also press Ctrl Z, right? So if I want to check that if all the words that I type in, like A, H, 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 A, let's see if they are stored in the file or not, because I told you earlier that with the less command, the file, the text that you see, it's only readable and not writable. So let's go ahead and let's see what do we have inside the xyz.txt. We hit enter and you can see that it has not been edited and it has the exact same content that it already had. So let's just come out of it. So now let's talk about another command, which is essentially compgen. Okay, so let's say that if I want to know all the bash functions, all the bash commands about Ubuntu and Linux, there must be a way to know those commands, right? So for that, I use compgen. When you would write here compgen and then you would write here -c, if you hit enter, it would display you each and every command available at your disposal inside the bash terminal. So from here you can read that there are multiple commands that you can use. Okay, some of the commands are which you and I have never even heard of, right? It seems like it's an endless list because I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling. It's not like, it's not ending, but it has to end at some point, right? So this is the thing, that using compgen, you can print out all the commands in the Linux that you can use. Sometime maybe if you want to do it, you can do so by writing compgen and then the -c flag. So compgen -c was for displaying all the commands, right? So in the similar way, you can use compgen -f to, search or to enlist all the files and in some cases some directories available in your system. So if I hit enter, here you can see we have xyz.txt, we have music, we have .local, .ssh, we have videos, we have desktop. Okay, so that's what you can do pretty much with compgen. So that's it for compgen. Now let's move on to the next command, which is essentially this angle bracket. So the thing is that this angle bracket can be used to direct data from one file to another, or even you can use it to direct data from the terminal to the file. So let me show you how you could do it. You can even create a file using it, right? So for example, right now if I ls here, we have limited amount of files. So if I just write here this bracket, and then if I write here file 1, if I hit enter, and if I ls now, you can see that I have file 1 created. So if I nano it right now, you can see that it has nothing, right? You can see that this file has nothing, right? So I'll come out of it, and now let's say that I want to send data from my terminal to that file. So let's use this compgen -c to enlist all the commands present. So I write here compgen -c, and then I put here the angle bracket like this. The direction of it has to be towards what you want to capture. And here I will write the file name in which I want to capture. So if I hit enter, you can see that compgen -c, it didn't print out everything, like all the commands. So where is the output? The output has been transferred to this file. And the way to see that is you nano it, you open it up, and there you go. You can see that here you have all the commands available, right? It's a long list. I can keep on scrolling all day, and it's endless. So let's come out of here, press Ctrl X. So now let's talk about cat command. So using cat command, you can display the data inside a file, you can put data into a specific file, and you can even create a file if you want. So let's go ahead and let's try to do an example. So if I cat like this, and if I write here the file name, if I hit enter, now I can write inside the file. Okay, so for example, I write here this is cat, right? So if I hit enter and press Ctrl C, it would break it, but now it would save it as well. So if I go inside this file, you can see that here we have this is cat, right? So that is how you write inside the file. So what it has done, that it has replaced the previously available data. So if I don't want to replace the previously available data, I have to write double brackets or double angle brackets. So if I write here cat, and if I write here double brackets, and if I write here xyz.txt, and now if I write here this is repeating. Okay, so if I hit enter, let me just press Ctrl C, and if we nano it now, you can see that now it has this is cat. Okay, and instead of replacing it, it has appended into this file. Okay, so in order to append into some file using cat, remember to use double angle brackets. And similarly, you can display the data of that file in the terminal using cat. So how do you do that? You write here cat, you write here angle bracket, and the face of the angle bracket should be towards the file name. And then you write here xyz.text. You hit enter, and this is how you basically show it, right? And if the file doesn't exist, and if you still write here cat, file would automatically be created. So for example, we do not have file 2, right? So if we write here cat, and if we write here file 2, and if we hit enter, and if we write here this is file 2, okay, great, press Ctrl C. If we ls here, you can see that now file 2 has been automatically created. And now if we nano the file 2, we have, this is file 2, and okay, great, the content that we wrote in the terminal has now been written inside the file 2 as well. Now I'll press Ctrl X and come out of this nano editor. Let me just clear it. Okay, so now let's discuss the pipe command. So pipe command is something like this, okay? So you can use this command to take the output of one command and give it as an input to another. So let me show you what I mean. I would write here cat, and then I would write here xyz.text. I put a pipe here, and then I'm going to write here less. So what this entire command is going to do, that first of all, let's say if we do cat xyz.text, you can see that this is the file content that we are able to see on our terminal, right? So if we basically put in here a pipe sign and then we write here less, now the output of cat is gonna be the input to less. So when we hit enter, it would print out the less format of the output, okay? So if we hit enter, you can see that now the same content from the file has been printed out in the less format, which means that we have used the cat command output as the input to the second command, okay? Okay, so now let's discuss head and tail commands in bash, okay? So the idea is that if we ls here right now, you can see that we have file 1. If we nano file 1 quickly, you can see that it has around 4,000 to 5,000 commands here, okay? So when you have really long files, you can basically use head command to print out the first 10 lines and read and simply get an idea that what this file is about, okay? So you can customize the number of lines. For example, if you want to print out less lines, or if you want to print out the more lines, the first 10 or 20 or 30 or first 5 lines, you can customize it. But by default, if you just use the head command, it is going to print out first 10 lines. And same is the case for the tail command, but it's a little different. The thing is that the tail command is going to print out the last 10 commands or the last 10 lines of the document, okay? So for example, we have file 1, which has 4,000 to 5,000 commands. So if we head it like this, head file 1, you can see that first 10 lines have first 10 commands. So it has printed out first 10 commands, just like that. And similarly, like for example, if you want to verify it, you can go to the file 1, like you can nano it. Oh, excuse me. Nano file 1. And here you can see that first command is alert, second is grep, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the last command is else, and the second last is then. So you can verify it. Okay. So Now what we're gonna do is just let me clear it. And now we're gonna use tail command. So we write here tail, and then we write here the file name, which is essentially file1, and it is going to print out the last 10 commands from this file. So if we hit enter, you can see that it is printing out last 10 commands. So if you want to verify it, you can nano the file, which is essentially file1, and you could hit enter, and you would see here, let me just scroll down quickly. So here you can verify the last 10 commands from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So core list being the first in our terminal, and this one snapstore.ubuntu software local file being the last. Okay, so let me just come out of it here, and you can see being the last and core list being the first in this list. But these are the last 10 commands that we have basically got. There is another command in Linux or bash terminal, which is essentially exit command. So exit command is the command through which this terminal allows you to kill itself. There are two ways. One is the GUI way, in which you could simply cross this terminal and you are done. But if you want to exit the terminal through the command line, then you can do so. All you have to do is you have to write here exit and then hit enter, and you can see that the terminal is gone. There is another command in the bash terminal, which is history command. So the idea is that history, it basically let you know all the commands that you have run in the past. So don't quote me on that, but I think it has around 1500 commands memory. Okay, it could be more than that, but it's stored around your last 1500 commands. So right now I don't think I have written down 1500 commands just yet. Well, let's go ahead and let's try to see it. If I just type in history and if I hit enter, here you can see that I have written 185 commands till now, and I can scroll it up here, and this was my first command, right? And this one is my last command, the history, and before history we have done exit command, right? In case you want to see the processes happening, you can press PS or you can type in PS and hit enter. And here you can see that we have two processes. This is the CPU time, this is the CMD, and this is the process ID. If you want to see all the processes happening in the background, for that you can type in PS-EF, and there you go. This is the list, okay, of all the processes happening. So this command will get you all of that. If you want to delete or remove a specific process, all you have to do is that you have to look for the process ID or PID. Here you can see that this column is the PID column. Pick up the ID, and after that what you're gonna do is that you're going to write here sudo and then kill, and then you're gonna type in here PID, whatever it is. So for example, if I want to kill this 165 PID, I would write here sudo kill and then PID number, and then I would hit enter. Okay, in that way it would delete the process. So now let's discuss sleep command. So sleep command is very handy when you want to delay the output for some reason. You can delay the output for seconds, for a few seconds, for a few minutes, for hours, or even for days. All you have to do is that you have to put in the number of seconds you want to delay it. So for example, here I have put 3 seconds. If I want to delay it for, let's say, 5 minutes, then 60 multiplied by 5, do the math, and let's say I write here, let's say 500 seconds. So it's going to be delayed for a couple of minutes. In order to delay it for hours, you need to write here probably 10,000 seconds or 20,000 or 30,000 seconds, right? So if I hit enter, you can see that the cursor is blinking and it took 3 seconds to get here, right? So in the similar way, you can use sleep command with different kind of outputs, right? So let's say that if we have a cat command, we have file2. You can see that this is the output of file2. And if I want to delay it, all I have to do is that I have to write here cat, then file2, and then a pipe sign. And then I would write here sleep. And after that, I'm going to write here the number of seconds I want to delay the output, right? So let's say if I want to delay it for 5 seconds, I would hit enter. So there is another way to get help in the Linux or in the bash terminal besides the man pages. If you want to get help from the bash terminal, you can get it. The thing is that you have to write here like cd. Let's say this is the command. You can write here any command that you want to know more about. Write that command, and then you're going to write here something like this, double hyphen and help. And now if you hit enter, so here you can see that you have multiple options. It tells you that how you can use cd, in what way, how you can use it with directories, how you can use it with different options. You know, all the details are here. There is another command in bash terminal, and that is whatis. So for example, if you want to know about what is, let's say, head, hit enter, and it tells you that head, it basically output the first part of files, okay, 10 lines as we know. And then it tells this head, it's a simple command line user agent, okay. You can also write here whatis, and you can type in here cd. It says nothing appropriate. Similarly, you can whatis the tail, and it would tell you that it tails is the output, the last part of the files, 10 lines, you know. So there is another thing in bash terminal which is known as hardlinks and softlinks. Basically, you can create through terminal. So for example, if I ls here, hardlink can be created on a file, and the softlink can be created on a directory. Okay, so we have file 1. Let's create hardlink first. In order to create a hardlink, you just need to do ln, and then you type in here the file name, which is essentially file 1, and then you're going to type in here the name of, let's say, the new name of the link or the hard link. So let's call it hard link. If you're familiar with Windows, this is like creating a shortcut in Windows. So in Windows, you create a shortcut. Let's say you have hundreds of a file in a folder and you need to access one file. You create a shortcut of it on your desktop. So similarly, in Linux, in places of shortcuts, we have hard links and we have soft links. So now if I hit enter, you can see that it has not given us any errors, right? And if I ls, you can see that we have the hard link here. So if I basically nano the hard link, it should open up the file. You can see that it has opened up the file 1, which has 4,000 to 5,000 commands, right? So that's how you create a hard link using ln. If you want to create a soft link for a folder or for a directory, you can also do that. So for example, I would move xyz.txt into the documents directory. Okay, and if I now ls the documents directory, you can see we have xyz.txt inside the documents directory, right? So let's create a link, a soft link for this documents directory. So for that, you would write here ln, and then you would write here the s flag, okay? And then you would write here the name. The name could be anything, but for your understanding, I will write here soft link, okay? Now if I hit enter, no error. So what I'm gonna do is if I ls here, so here you can see that we have the soft link, okay? Okay, so till now we have seen that how we could do different things in the terminal, right? So the idea is that in the terminal, there is a constraint that you cannot like run here 10 commands at once, right? So in order to get rid of that problem and in order to solve it, you have bash scripts where you can actually put in hundreds of commands and run it simultaneously, okay? So for example, if I want to create a bash script, all I have to do is that I have to use the touch command and create a file. Like for example, I write here script. And one thing I need to do is that I need to give it an extension of .sh. So once I give it the extension like script.sh, I hit enter. Let me ls here. Here you can see that we have a script.sh file here. I can start writing scripts inside of it. All I have to do is that I have to nano it, okay? And after nanoing it, I'm going to have here hash and then this exclamation mark and then /bin/bash, okay? This is the path that you need to give in the beginning of every bash file. If you do not give this path here or this line here, your computer or your terminal is not going to recognize it as a script. So before it starts to execute this bash script, it needs to know that this is a bash script. And the way it is going to know that it's a bash script is by this line. So make sure that every bash script that you write, it has this line, okay? So now what I'm going to do is that there are multiple commands that we could literally write here. So let's say that we write here echo and we echo, let's say this is skills build training, okay? I can echo this line like, or echo multiple lines, okay? We build IT career. And then I echo, like, are you looking at it? The opportunities are endless here, okay? Like in the terminal, I cannot echo 2, 3, 4 times, or I cannot write a proper for loop, or I cannot write a while loop, or I cannot write if statements, you know, all of that I could do, and I could write it inside the script.sh file, which is essentially bash scripting, right? So now let me just save it, Control O, and then I come out of here, okay, by pressing Control X. So here you can see that if I ls here, the script is script.sh. In order to run it, I need to change its permissions. It's not executable. How do I know? Because its color is white. When it would be executable, the color of it would turn something like this. So let me just go ahead and do a long listing of script.sh. And here you can see that we have read and write permissions, but we do not have executable permissions. And similarly, the group has the read and write permissions, but it does not have executable permissions. And the others, they do not have write or executable permissions. What we want to do is that we want to give the owner the executable permissions, right? But before giving executable permissions, I want to show you that if we run this script right now, what would happen? It would give us an error. So in order to run this script, you have to type in the entire path of the script, but we are not going to do that. We'll just simply write here dot and then slash and then simply the script name, which is essentially script.sh. So here you can see that we have dot, which represents whatever is behind it, like slash home slash skills.t slash script.sh. Okay, and now we hit enter and you can see that it says permission denied, and the only reason permission was denied because it is not executable. Okay, so we are gonna make it executable, and in order to do that, I'm gonna write here chmod and then I write here u plus x. And so this u plus x is going to give the executable permissions, which we have discussed, to the user. And now we have to write here the file name, which is essentially script.sh. Now we hit enter. And if I long list here now, you'll be able to see that now this user, it has the executable permissions and the color of it has also changed. So let me do ls one more time here, and here you can see that the color of script has changed. And now if I try to run the script, it would execute and it would print out all the echo statements, right? There is another interesting thing that in the bash script you can use variables. So for example, if I write here nanoscript.sh, and let's say if I write here variables, different variables, like, you know, a equals 1, b equals hello, and c equals, let's say, you know, 2. So the thing is that bash scripting, it is intelligent enough to understand the data type of the data that you're giving. Okay, so you do not have to tell the variable that I'm going to give you an integer, or I'm going to give you a floating number, or I'm going to give you a string. Okay, this variable would recognize everything on its own. So if I, let's say, echo it, or basically I can also multiply these variables if I want to, like this one and this one, but let's just simply echo all the variables one by one. So if you want to echo it, now you're going to put a $sign beside the variable. So make sure that when you're defining the variable, you don't need to put anything. Okay, no $sign, no data type, just type in the variable name and store the value in it. But when you're using that variable, make sure that you put a $sign beside it, because if you don't put a $sign, it's going to give you an error. So now let's just echo B quickly, and let's echo C quickly. If we save it, we go back, we try to run our script. So here you can see that those 3 variables have been printed out. Okay, that's it from this video. Hope you have enjoyed it. In this video, we have seen that how we can use bash terminal, and if you're a beginner, this video was super amazing and fit for you. In the next video regarding the bash video series, we're gonna take you through bash scripting in detail. We're gonna show you the core concepts of bash scripting, the logical statements, and much more. Thanks so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel to get the latest videos to help you advance your IT career.